Vincent Moretti watches the woman collapse in his arms, blood spreading across her white blouse like spilled wine. And for the first time in 15 years of running the Moretti family, he doesn't know what to do. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to step in front of him. She wasn't supposed to take the bullet meant for his chest. The restaurant is chaos. His men are already moving, weapons drawn, shouting orders in Italian and English. Someone is screaming. Glass shatters somewhere behind him. But Vincent can only see her face pale, shocked, her brown eyes wide with confusion as she tries to understand what just happened. "I'm sorry," she whispers, and blood bubbles at the corner of her mouth. "I didn't mean to. Don't talk." Vincent's voice comes out harder than he intends. He presses his hand against her shoulder where the bullet entered, feeling warm blood pulse between his fingers. Too much blood. "Don't you dare apologize." Her eyes flutter. She's fading. "Carlo!" Vincent roars, and his consigliere appears beside him, weapon still drawn, his face grim. "Get Russo, now. I don't care if he's in surgery on someone else. Get him here in 10 minutes or we're dragging him out." Carlo hesitates for half a second, his eyes flicking to the woman, and Vincent knows what he's thinking. She's a civilian. A witness. In their world, witnesses don't walk away breathing, but Carlo must see something in Vincent's face because he just nods and pulls out his phone. Vincent lifts the woman. She weighs nothing, feels fragile as bird bones in his arms, and carries her toward the back exit where his car is already pulling up. His driver, Marco, has the door open, his face professionally blank even though Vincent knows he's calculating the same thing Carlo was. Liability, risk, loose end. Let them calculate. Vincent slides into the back seat with the woman still in his arms, keeping pressure on her wound. Her head lolls against his shoulder. She's unconscious now, which might be a mercy. He can feel her heartbeat against his chest, rapid, thready, fighting. "The compound," he tells Marco. "Fast but smooth." She's already in shock. The car pulls away from Moretti's, his legitimate restaurant that covers a multitude of sins. Leaving behind the mess his men will clean with the efficiency of long practice. The shooter is already dead. The witnesses will remember nothing useful. Security footage will disappear. By morning, it will be like tonight never happened. Except for the blood on Vincent's hands and the dying woman in his arms. He looks down at her face. She's pretty in an understated way. Soft features, dark hair falling across her cheek, a small scar near her eyebrow. She'd been sitting 3 tables away from his meeting, dining alone with a book propped against her water glass. He'd noticed her earlier, the way you notice something out of place. She didn't belong in his world. Too gentle, too unaware of the undercurrents of violence that always swirled beneath the surface of his life. Vincent Moretti has been a monster for a long time. He made his first kill at 19, took over the family at 25 when his father died, built an empire on fear and loyalty, and the kind of ruthless efficiency that made other families think twice before crossing him. He's ordered deaths, delivered them personally when necessary, destroyed anyone who threatened what was his. But he's also a father, Sophia. God, Sophia had been here earlier tonight. He'd brought her by the restaurant before the meeting because she begged to see the new fish tank he'd installed in the lobby. Enormous, saltwater, filled with exotic species that cost more than most people's cars. She'd pressed her face against the glass, enchanting the fish with her wonder, and this woman had walked past and smiled at her. Vincent remembers that smile. Warm, genuine. The kind of smile that said she probably worked with children, understood their magic. Sophia had smiled back, shy but pleased, and the woman had continued to her table without a second glance. 2 hours later, that same woman threw herself between Vincent and a bullet. The compound gates open as they approach. Vincent's home sits on 15 acres outside the city, surrounded by walls and security that would make a prison jealous. It's a fortress disguised as an estate. He built it after Sophia was born, after Maria died giving birth to their daughter, after Vincent realized he had something more precious than power to protect. Sophia doesn't know what he really does. She thinks Papa owns restaurants and does business. She goes to private school under a different last name, driven by bodyguards she thinks are just drivers, kept carefully separate from the blood that pays for her ballet lessons and her library of books, and the stability Vincent never had as a child. Doctor. Russo is already there when they pull up, his medical bag in hand, his face tight with the controlled panic of a man who knows refusing Vincent Moretti isn't an option. He'd been chief of trauma surgery at Metropolitan General before Vincent made him an offer he couldn't refuse. retire early with a generous pension, and be available when the family needed medical care that couldn't go through official channels. Gunshot wound, upper right shoulder, Vincent says, carrying the woman past Russo toward the medical suite he'd had built in the East Wing. Through and through, I think, but she's lost a lot of blood. Went into shock in the car. Russo follows, already assessing. How long ago? 15 minutes. Pulse. Weak. Rapid. They reach the medical suite, a fully equipped surgical room that would rival most hospitals. Vincent lays the woman on the table, and Russo immediately takes over, his hands efficient as he cuts away her blood-soaked blouse, revealing the wound. Entry wound in the shoulder, exit wound in the back. The bullet had been meant for Vincent's heart. If she hadn't moved, hadn't stepped in front of him with reflexes faster than thought, he'd be the one on this table. If you're feeling this story so far, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happens when this woman wakes up will change everything Vincent thought he knew about debts and redemption. She's crashing, Russo says sharply, and Vincent's world narrows to the monitor showing her heart rate plummeting. No. Vincent doesn't recognize his own voice. You don't let her die. Whatever you need, blood, equipment, another doctor, I don't care. She doesn't die in this room. Russo doesn't waste time arguing. He calls for his nurse, another person on Vincent's payroll, and they work with controlled urgency. Vincent watches from the corner, his hands still stained with her blood, feeling something he hasn't felt in years. Helplessness. He can kill a man 100 different ways, can dismantle a rival organization with 3 phone calls, can make people disappear or appear or do whatever he needs them to do. But he can't fix this. Can't intimidate death, can't negotiate with biology. The woman crashes again 20 minutes into surgery. The monitor flatlines with a sound that stops Vincent's heart. Russo shouts something, uses the defibrillator, and Vincent watches electricity jolt through her body like he's watching his own execution. The monitor beeps. Rhythm returns. Vincent releases a breath he didn't know he was holding. Surgery takes 3 hours. Russo repairs the damaged collapsed lung, torn muscle, nicked artery. He works in silence except for terse instructions to his nurse, and Vincent stands vigil in the corner like a dark angel, refusing to leave, refusing to look away. This is his fault. Not directly, he didn't pull the trigger, didn't hire the shooter, but the bullet had his name on it. She'd taken violence meant for him and made it her own. Why? That question circles in Vincent's mind as he watches Russo close the final sutures. Why would a stranger sacrifice herself for a man she didn't know? Instinct, heroism, stupidity. She had to have known the risk, had to have seen the gun, made a choice in a split second that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Finally, Russo steps back, stripping off his gloves. His face is exhausted. She's stable. For now, the next 48 hours are critical. If she makes it through without infection or complications, she should survive. Should, not will. Should. Vincent nods. She stays here, round the clock monitoring you or your nurse with her at all times. Russo hesitates. Vincent, you know what the family will say. She's a witness. She saw. I know what she saw. Vincent's voice is cold, final. She's under my protection. Anyone who has a problem with that can bring it to me directly. The words hang in the air like a declaration of war. Russo is smart enough not to argue. He just nods and begins preparing post-op care. Vincent finally allows himself to leave the surgical suite. His second-in-command, Tommy, is waiting in the hallway, his face carefully neutral. The situation at the restaurant is handled, Tommy says. Shooter was hired muscle, no family affiliation. Someone paid cash, probably a test run from the Calabrese crew. We're tracking it down. The Calabrese problem becomes priority 1, Vincent says. But quietly. I don't want open war, not with Sophia in the house. Tommy nods, but his eyes flick toward the surgical suite. Boss, about the woman, not open for discussion. The council will ask questions. Let them ask. Vincent's voice is flat, dangerous. She took a bullet meant for me. That creates a debt. In our world, debts are sacred. Or have we forgotten that? Tommy wisely drops it. I'll handle the council. Vincent heads upstairs to his private quarters. Dawn is breaking outside the windows, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that seem obscene after the night's violence. He needs to shower, to wash her blood from his hands, to check on Sophia before she wakes. But first, he goes to her room. Sophia sleeps in a bedroom that looks like a fairy tale canopy bed with gauze curtains, walls painted with a mural of an enchanted forest, shelves full of books and stuffed animals. Vincent had hired a designer, told them to create a space where nightmares couldn't reach, a space that was the opposite of his world. She's curled on her side, dark hair spread across her pillow, clutching the stuffed rabbit she's had since she was 2. Her face is peaceful, innocent, untouched by the violence that happened mere miles away. Vincent sits on the edge of her bed, careful not to wake her, and watches his daughter sleep. She's 6 years old, first grade, learning to read, obsessed with butterflies and ballet and a cartoon about magical horses. She has Maria's eyes and Vincent's stubborn chin and a laugh that makes him believe in redemption. She's the only purely good thing he's ever created. The memory of the woman's smile at Sophia flashes through his mind. Warm, gentle, the smile of someone who understood children's wonder. She'd looked at his daughter with kindness, not calculation, no agenda, just simple human warmth. And hours later, she'd taken a bullet for Sophia's father. Vincent doesn't believe in fate or providence or divine intervention. He believes in power and pragmatism and the cold calculus of survival. But sitting here in his daughter's room, watching dawn break over a world that suddenly feels different, he wonders if maybe, just maybe, some debts can't be measured in blood or money. Some debts are something else entirely. Sophia stirs, her eyes opening slowly. When she sees him, she smiles. "Papa, you're home early." "Couldn't sleep," he lies, smoothing her hair back from her face. "Go back to sleep, Piccola. It's not time for school yet." But Sophia sits up, suddenly alert in that way children have when they sense something wrong. Did something bad happen at the restaurant? Vincent's chest tightens. She's too perceptive, too aware despite all his efforts to keep her innocent. "Nothing for you to worry about. Everything's fine." "You're lying," she says it matter-of-factly, without accusation. "You have your lying voice." God, she's too smart. Someone got hurt. But they're going to be okay. "The nice lady?" Sophia asks, and Vincent's world tilts. "The one who smiled at me by the fish tank? How does she know? Did one of his men talk? Did she overhear something? What makes you think that?" Sophia shrugs, pulling her rabbit into her lap. "I just know. She was nice. Is she okay?" Vincent doesn't know how to answer. The truth is too complicated. The lie feels wrong. So he settles for something in between. "She's hurt, but the doctor is taking care of her. She's going to stay here while she gets better. Like a guest? Something like that." Sophia thinks about this, her young face serious. Then she climbs out of bed, goes to her bookshelf, and retrieves her most prized possession. The stuffed rabbit Vincent gave her the day she was born. Maria had held it during labor. It was the last thing she touched before she died. Sophia brings it back to the bed and holds it out to Vincent. "She should have Mr. Hoppy. When I'm scared, he makes me feel better." She's probably really scared. Vincent stares at the rabbit, something cracking open in his chest. His 6-year-old daughter, offering her most treasured comfort to a stranger because she understands fear and pain in a way children shouldn't have to. He takes the rabbit gently. "I'll make sure she gets it. Promise, Papa. Promise." Sophia climbs back into bed, satisfied, and closes her eyes. Within minutes, she's asleep again, the resilience of childhood letting her return to dreams. Vincent sits there a moment longer, holding a stuffed rabbit and thinking about the woman in his medical suite fighting for her life. He'd built his empire on violence and fear. He'd made himself into something dark and necessary, a monster who protected his own by being more ruthless than anyone else. But his daughter still believed in kindness, and a stranger had taken a bullet for him without hesitation. Vincent rises, carrying the rabbit, and heads back downstairs. The compound is waking up, staff moving through the halls, security changing shifts, the machinery of his world grinding forward. He passes Tommy in the hallway, passes Carlo reviewing security footage, passes the normal operations of running a criminal empire. He goes back to the medical suite. The woman is still unconscious, machines monitoring her vitals, Russo's nurse sitting quietly in the corner. Vincent dismisses her with a nod and takes the chair beside the bed. Her face is peaceful now, color slowly returning to her cheeks. Someone has cleaned the blood away, changed her into a hospital gown, made her comfortable. She looks younger than he'd thought, maybe late 20s, a whole life ahead of her that almost ended tonight. Vincent places the stuffed rabbit beside her hand on the bed. "I don't know why you did it," he says quietly, knowing she can't hear him. I don't know if you're brave or foolish, or if you just weren't thinking, but you saved my life. You saved my daughter from losing her father. And I don't know how to repay that kind of debt. The machines beep steadily. Her chest rises and falls. But I'm gonna figure it out, Vincent continues. Because in my world, debts are sacred. And you, whoever you are owed something I'm not sure I can give. But I'm going to try. He sits back in the chair, watching her breathe, and wonders what happens when someone who lives in darkness is pulled into the light by a stranger's sacrifice. Wonders what it means that his daughter instinctively understood kindness while he'd spent 15 years forgetting it existed. Outside, the sun rises fully, flooding the room with morning light. Vincent doesn't move. He sits vigil beside the woman who took his bullet, holding space between his world and hers, and waits for her to wake up so he can begin to understand what it means to owe someone everything. Emma Chen wakes up to pain so sharp it steals her breath. Her right shoulder feels like it's been torn apart and badly stitched back together, which, she'll learn later, is exactly what happened. The ceiling above her is unfamiliar ornate crown molding, soft recessed lighting, the kind of expensive details you see in magazines but never in real life. This isn't a hospital. She tries to sit up and gasps as fire shoots through her shoulder and chest. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The voice comes from the corner of the room, low and controlled. Emma turns her head carefully and sees him. The man from the restaurant, dark hair touched with gray at the temples, sharp features that might be handsome if they weren't so severe, eyes that calculate everything they see. He's sitting in a leather chair like he's been there for hours, watching her sleep, and the thought should terrify her. But she's too disoriented to process fear properly. Memory floods back in fragments. The restaurant, her celebrating, finally paying off her student loans with a nice dinner, a small luxury she'd earned. The book she 500 been reading. Looking up at the wrong moment and seeing the man in the doorway raising a gun. Seeing it aimed at this man, at the table where he sat with other men in expensive suits discussing things in low voices. She'd moved without thinking. Pure instinct. The same instinct that made her step between fighting students at school, that made her reach for falling children before her brain caught up. She'd lunged forward, and then there was pain and blood and the world tilting sideways. Where am I? Her voice comes out rough, painful. My home. You've been unconscious for 3 days. He stands and moves closer, not threatening, but not exactly comforting either. Everything about him radiates controlled danger. How much do you remember? Emma's mind is clearing slowly, synapses firing through the fog of whatever drugs they've given her. She remembers the gun, remembers moving, remembers the impact that felt like being hit with a sledgehammer. I remember enough. Then you know what I am. It's not a question. Emma looks at him, really looks at him, and pieces together what she'd been too naive to see at the restaurant. The men in expensive suits who called him sir and boss. The way everyone moved around him with deference and fear. The meeting that required armed guards stationed at exits. The shooter who came with professional precision. You're Mafia, she says, and her voice is steadier than she feels. The Moretti family. My name is Vincent. He pulls the chair closer to her bedside and sits, studying her face like he's trying to solve a puzzle. And you are? Emma. Emma Chen. She tries to sit up again, more carefully this time, and he moves to help her, adjusting pillows behind her back with surprising gentleness. His hands are large, scarred across the knuckles, the hands of someone who's done violence personally. Why am I still alive? The question hangs between them. Emma isn't stupid. She's seen movies, read books, understands enough about organized crime to know that witnesses are liabilities. She saw his face, saw the shooter, saw everything. And now she's awake in his home, and she should probably be terrified, but mostly, she's just confused. You saved my life, Vincent says simply. That creates a debt. So you're keeping me alive out of obligation? I'm keeping you alive because you took a bullet meant for me, and I'm not a man who forgets that. There's something in his voice, something almost like respect. You're recovering under my protection. Dr. Russo repaired the damaged collapsed lung, torn muscle, significant blood loss. You crashed twice during surgery. Emma processes this information slowly. She died. Twice. Came back. Is now in the home of a mafia boss who feels obligated to keep her breathing. My job, my apartment, my handled. Your school thinks you're on emergency medical leave for a family crisis. Your rent is paid, your bills are covered. You have no financial concerns while you recover. The casual way he's taken over her entire life should make her angry, but Emma's too exhausted to muster outrage. You can't just control everything. Watch me. They stare at each other for a long moment. Emma sees the steel in him, the absolute certainty that his will shapes reality. But she also sees something else. The shadows under his eyes that suggest he hasn't slept well. The tension in his jaw, the way his gaze keeps dropping to her shoulder like he's checking to make sure she's still breathing. I didn't ask you to save me, she says quietly. I didn't ask you to take my bullet. Vincent leans back in his chair. But here we are. You need time to heal. You'll stay here where it's safe, where Russo can monitor your recovery. When you're well enough, we'll discuss what happens next. What happens next? Emma understands the unspoken question. She's a kindergarten teacher who stumbled into something dark and dangerous. She knows his face, his name, his world. In the movies, this is where the witness gets relocated or silenced. But Vincent Moretti is looking at her like she's a problem he can't solve with his usual methods. Before Emma can respond, the door opens and a small figure slips inside. The little girl is maybe 6 or 7, with dark curls and enormous brown eyes. She's wearing purple pajamas with cartoon cats on them and carrying a tray that's almost too big for her to manage. On it sits a glass of water and a bowl of what looks like soup. "Papa, I brought her breakfast," the girl announces, concentrating hard on not spilling anything. Vincent's entire demeanor changes. The dangerous edge softens into something Emma didn't expect, pure parental concern. "Sophia, what did I tell you about the stairs with a tray? That I should be very careful and watch my feet and not go too fast." Sophia makes it to the bedside table and sets the tray down with a small, triumphant smile. Then she turns to Emma, those big eyes studying her with childish intensity. "You're awake. Papa said you were sleeping for a very long time because you got hurt." Emma finds herself smiling despite everything. There's something about children that cuts through adult complications, reduces everything to simple truths. "I did get hurt, but I'm feeling better now. I'm Sophia. I saw you at the restaurant. You smiled at me by the fish tank." Sophia climbs onto the edge of the bed carefully, mindful of Emma's injuries. "The fish were really pretty, right? Papa got them from somewhere far away. There's one that's blue and yellow, and he told me it's called a tang, and I said like the orange juice." And he laughed. Vincent watches this interaction with an expression Emma can't quite read, something protective and pained at the same time. "The fish were beautiful," Emma agrees. "I remember you. You were wearing a blue dress." Sophia beams, delighted to be remembered. "Papa bought it for my recital. I do ballet. Do you like ballet?" "I love ballet. I used to dance when I was your age." "Really?" Sophia's eyes go wide. "Could you teach me something? When you're all better?" "Papa tries, but he's not very good at dancing." "I can hear you," Vincent says dryly, but there's affection in his voice. Emma looks between father and daughter and sees something that doesn't fit her mental image of a mafia boss. She sees a single parent navigating bedtime routines and ballet recitals. Sees a man who lets his daughter bring breakfast to strangers and doesn't scold her for it. Sees love, simple and uncomplicated, in the way he watches Sophia like she's the only good thing in his world. If you're moved by this moment, please hit that like button and subscribe for stories that remind us that even in the darkest places, innocence and hope can still bloom. "Sophia, let Emma rest," Vincent says gently. "She needs to eat and then sleep some more." "But I wanted to talk to her more." Sophia's lower lip juts out in a pout that's probably devastatingly effective on her father. "Later, I promise. Emma will be here for a while." Sophia accepts this with the easy faith of a child who trusts her parent completely. She hops off the bed, then turns back. "Oh, I almost forgot. Mr. Shaw, Hoppy helped you while you were sleeping. Papa said you were probably scared, so I let you borrow him." Emma looks where Sophia is pointing and sees a worn stuffed rabbit tucked beside the pillow. It's clearly well loved, missing one button eye, fur matted from years of hugs, the kind of toy children treasure above all others. "Thank you," Emma says, and means it. "That was very kind. You can keep him as long as you need." Sophia skips to the door, then pauses. "I'm glad you didn't die. Papa was really worried." She leaves before either adult can respond to that observation. Vincent stands, runs a hand through his hair in a gesture that makes him look suddenly human. Tired. Uncertain. "She doesn't know what I really do," he says quietly. "She thinks I own restaurants. I've kept her separate from my world. She goes to school under a different name, lives behind walls that keep her safe from the reality of who her father is. Emma understands what he's not saying. Sophia is his vulnerability, his soft spot, the thing that could destroy him if his enemies found the right leverage. And now Emma is inside those walls, close to the one person Vincent Moretti would do anything to protect. I would never hurt a child, Emma says. I know. If I thought you would, you wouldn't have woken up. The casual way he says it should horrify her. But Emma is beginning to understand the logic of his world. Brutal, yes, but with its own code, its own rules, he protects what's his with absolute ruthlessness. Sophia is his. And somehow, through an act of instinctive sacrifice, Emma has become his too. The next few days fall into a strange routine. Emma heals slowly, her body knitting itself back together under Dr. Russo's careful monitoring. Vincent is a constant presence, checking on her multiple times a day, never staying long but always there, watching, making sure she has everything she needs. Sophia visits frequently, bringing drawings and stories and endless chatter that makes the hours pass faster. She talks about school and her friends and the butterfly garden she wants to plant in the spring. She asks Emma about teaching kindergarten, fascinated by the idea of a classroom full of children, Sophia's age learning to read and write. Emma finds herself looking forward to these visits. Sophia is bright and curious and affectionate in a way that suggests Vincent, despite his dangerous world, has managed to raise a remarkably well-adjusted child. She sees the care he's taken to give his daughter normalcy, to shield her from his darkness. It makes Emma's choice at the restaurant make a different kind of sense. She didn't just save a mob boss, she saved a father, a single parent doing his best to protect his child from a world he can't escape. 1 week after waking up, Emma is sitting in the chair by the window when Vincent enters with his phone in his hand and tension in his shoulders. We have a problem, he says without preamble. The Calabrese family knows about you. They're calling you my weakness, spreading word that the woman under Moretti protection is leverage. Emma's blood runs cold. I should leave. Go somewhere they can't find me. Where? Vincent's voice is sharp. You go back to your apartment, they'll find you within 24 hours. You run, they'll hunt you. You're marked now, Emma. That's the reality. Because I saved you. Because you saved me. He moves to the window, looking out over the grounds. I can send you away. Relocate you somewhere remote. Give you a new identity, enough money to start over. You'd be safe but alone. No family, no friends, no life you recognize. Or, Vincent turns to face her. Or you stay here, under my protection, part of my household. You'd be as safe as I can make you, which is safer than most places in this world. But you'd be tied to me, to my world, to all the darkness that comes with it. Emma stares at him, understanding the impossible choice he's offering. Freedom without safety, or safety without freedom. And underlying it all, the unspoken truth Sophia needs, someone besides her father. Needs normalcy and gentleness, and the kind of maternal presence Vincent can't provide. I need to think, Emma says. Take your time. But not too much time. The Calabrese problem is escalating. He leaves her alone with her thoughts. Emma sits by the window, watching sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold, and tries to make sense of her new reality. A week ago, she was a kindergarten teacher celebrating a small financial victory. Now she's living in a mob boss's compound, under threat from his enemies, being asked to choose between impossible options. The door opens quietly. Sophia pokes her head in. Emma, can I come in? Of course, sweetheart. Sophia climbs into the chair beside Emma, tucking her feet under her. Papa seems sad today. He gets that way sometimes. His face goes all quiet and he forgets to smile. He's worried about keeping people safe. He's good at that. He keeps me safe from everything. Sophia leans her head against Emma's good shoulder. Are you leaving? I heard him talking to Uncle Tommy about you maybe going away. Emma's heart breaks a little. Would you be sad if I left? Yes. Sophia's voice is small. I like when you're here. You're nice. You listen to my stories, and you don't treat me like I'm just a little kid. Papa tries, but he doesn't always understand about girl things. Emma thinks about Vincent awkwardly braiding his daughter's hair, reading bedtime stories with different voices, creating a fortress of safety around one small girl. She thinks about Sophia offering her most precious toy to a stranger because she understood fear. She thinks about how violence brought her here, but something else might make her stay. Can I tell you a secret? Emma says. Sophia nods seriously, understanding the weight of secrets. I'm a little bit scared. Your papa's world is very different from mine. But when I'm with you, I remember why I became a teacher. Because kids like you make the world better just by being in it. Sophia processes this with the gravity children bring to adult confessions. You don't have to be scared here. Papa won't let anything bad happen, he promised. He did? He promises me every night when he tucks me in. He says nothing bad will ever touch me as long as he's alive. I think he promises you too now, because you saved him. Out of the mouths of babes, Emma thinks. This child understands the dynamics at play better than she does. Vincent Moretti protects what's his, and by taking his bullet, Emma became his to protect. That night, Emma asks to see Vincent. He comes to her room after Sophia is asleep, settling into the chair he's occupied so many nights, waiting. I'll stay, Emma says. Not forever, not permanently, but I'll stay until this threat is resolved, until I'm fully healed, until we figure out what comes next. Something shifts in Vincent's expression. Relief, maybe, or just the easing of tension he's been carrying. You understand what you're agreeing to? I understand that running won't save me. I understand that Sophia needs stability. I understand that you're offering something most people in your position wouldn't. Emma meets his eyes. I don't trust you, Vincent, but I trust that you keep your promises. And Sophia told me you promised to keep me safe. She's too perceptive for her own good. She's your daughter. Of course she is. Vincent leans forward, elbows on his knees, and for a moment he looks less like a mob boss and more like a man carrying impossible weight. I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you easy. My world is dark, Emma, full of violence and choices that would horrify you. Then don't lie to me about it. Don't pretend it's something it's not. Just be honest, and we'll figure out the rest. He nods slowly. Honest. I can do honest. He stands, moves to the door, then pauses. Thank you. For saving my life. For staying. For being kind to my daughter. Thank you. Emma watches him leave and wonders what she's gotten herself into. Outside her window, security lights illuminate the compound grounds, a reminder that this beautiful estate is also a fortress. She's chosen to stay in a gilded cage, traded one kind of freedom for another. But when Sophia knocks on her door the next morning, bringing breakfast and chatter and Mr. Hoppy, because you looked sad last night and he helps with sadness, Emma thinks maybe some cages are chosen for good reasons. That afternoon, Vincent's men handle the Calabrese threat. Emma doesn't ask for details, doesn't want to know what handled means in his world. She stays in her room with Sophia, reading stories and playing games, deliberately ignorant of the violence conducted in her name. When Vincent appears that evening, there's blood on his shirt cuff that he's tried to wash away. Emma sees it and understands. He's killed for her, protected her the only way he knows how. With ruthless, efficient violence. She should be horrified, should pack her things and run. But instead, she just asks, is it over? For now. They won't try again, I made sure of it. Emma nods, accepting this truth about the man who's made himself her protector. He's a monster. But he's a monster who loves his daughter with pure devotion and honors debts with sacred intensity. Sophia asked if you'd read to her tonight, Vincent says. If you're feeling up to it. Emma follows him to Sophia's room, that fairy tale space that exists separate from his dark world. The little girl is already in bed, clutching Mr. Hoppy, her face lighting up when she sees them both. Will you read the princess story? Sophia asks, the one where she saves the kingdom? Emma settles on the edge of the bed and reads about a brave princess who faced dragons and dark magic to save her people. Sophia's eyes grow heavy, drifting closed, and when the story ends, she's already asleep. Vincent pulls the blanket up to his daughter's chin, kisses her forehead with infinite gentleness, and whispers something in Italian that sounds like a prayer. They leave Sophia dreaming and walk together through the quiet house. At Emma's door, Vincent stops. I know this isn't what you wanted, he says. This life, this situation. But I'll do everything I can to make sure you don't regret staying. Emma looks at him, this complicated, dangerous man who kills without hesitation, but reads bedtime stories in funny voices. Just keep your promise to Sophia, that nothing bad will touch her. As long as you do that, we'll find our way through the rest. Deal. Emma goes to bed that night in a room that's slowly starting to feel less foreign. She's made an impossible choice, committed to staying in a world that should terrify her, but she's also found something unexpected in this dark place. A little girl who needs someone besides her father, a man who's learning that some debts can't be repaid with money or violence, and herself, discovering that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay when every instinct says to run. Outside, Vincent's world continues brutal, unforgiving, built on fear and power. But inside these walls, there's a child who believes in goodness and a father who would burn the world to keep her safe. And now there's Emma, the teacher who took a bullet and discovered that sometimes salvation comes wrapped in the most unexpected packages. She falls asleep, holding Mr. Hoppy and dreaming of butterfly gardens and children's laughter. And for the first time since she woke up in this strange new life, she doesn't feel afraid. Sometimes the bullet meant to destroy you ends up saving you instead, and sometimes the person you save becomes the one who saves you back, teaching you that redemption isn't found in grand gestures, but in small moments of grace. A child's trust, a father's devotion, and the courage to believe that even monsters can learn to be human again.